Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol Atma Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So thanks everyone for coming. Thanks Navina Nirada Prabhu for being our guest for the speaker for the evening. It's another the second Saturday in 2021, and we're kicking off 2021 with endeavors to be Krishna conscious together. So that's good. So hopefully that'll make 2021 will be happy in Krishna consciousness and a successful, productive year for all of us. So our guest Navina Nirada Prabhu is from Switzerland, but has been in California for a while, and he does his service there. I guess sort of with the friendship, but under the guidance of Vaisheshika Prabhu, right, in ISKCON Silicon Valley, and he's spearheading his own stuff going on over there. He was doing preaching in San Francisco, leading a bunch of young men brahmacharis in book distribution. Of course, these days, hitting the streets with book distribution isn't really what's going on in the country for those of whom who have that service. But Navina Nirada is known amongst members of those who are members of ISKCON for a fair amount of time as someone who's has been a leader in book distribution, both in engaging in book distribution and leading others in it, and in teaching others about why to do it, how to do it, and especially teaching by example. So he's a very nice devotee and a friend of mine, and he joined in the mid 80s as a very young man. I always asked you, but I think it's 15, right? Okay, I got it this time. Yeah, so that's it. And then maybe everyone can just introduce themselves, unless you're too shy, but there's no reason to be, but if you are, that's okay. You can just say your name and maybe say where you are, if you're in New York or maybe you're in some distant land. My name is Atma Nivedana, running this program with the help of certain others since 2011, and I'm here in New York City. Hare Krishna. You can go around. Don't jump.
Sorry, everyone was muted, I think, and now everyone can unmute themselves. And my name is Sasha. I'm from New York currently. So.
With a mild accent.
Yes, accent from Ukraine.
Okay. And he's our assistant organizer here.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I'm from New York. I live in Queens, New York. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, I'm Gaurav, and I live in Jersey City.
Hi.
My name is Markandeya. I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Hare Krishna, my name is Parul. I'm New York, Jackson Heights.
Hi, my name is Miguel Diaz, and I am from the Dominican Republic, but I do live in New York. Currently, I'm in Orlando with my family.
Hi, my name is Abhishek, and I'm based in Astoria, New York. Thank you.
My name is Marlon, and I'm from West Virginia.
I just unmuted Israel because I think you had your hand up, but then my unmuting, somehow the unmuting attempt didn't work. Oh, there you go. Did you want to say something, Israel? I saw your hand up.
Yes.
Oh, please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Israel. I'm from Ghana.
Oh, okay. Are you friends with Dixon?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, yeah. I think Dixon told me you were going to be joining, but I didn't know today. Okay, well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hello, my name is Anu Ghimire, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, wait, but there's a few people here who are from distant places, and there's a story behind how they joined, are part of this, but I know the story. But since I haven't met you on our Saturday class before, I'm wondering how you know about it. Did you do it through a search on Meetup or some other means?
Yes, exactly. So I come to New York often, so I just joined some meetups there and found this meetup.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, anyway, welcome. Glad to have you. Anybody else? Maybe only Carmen Gloria. Did you want to say?
Yes. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. So my name is Carmen Gloria. I'm from New York. I've been with this group prior to being digital, so I know most of them. And I'm half from Europe, France, my mother, and also Chile, South America. And happy to be with you today.
Okay, thanks, Carmen Gloria. And then her friend.
Navina. I'm Rafael. I live in Mexico City, but I'm originally from Mexico, and it's good to see you again. Hare Krishna.
And you're the one who brought Carmen Gloria here way back when, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Rafael.
Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
I should have said that, sorry. I'm
No.
with you, thanks to Rafael. Yes.
Okay, so thanks all of you for being part of this evening. Now I'm going to, and nice Navina Nirada got to know the rest of you a little bit. So now I'll let you take it away, Navina. So the class, and so the schedule is the class, including questions and answers or comments that Navina Nirada will prompt you to make, whether it's during the class or at the end, it's up to him. But the class, including questions and answers, should get wrapped up at approximately 7. Then we'll ask Navina to chant Hare Krishna for a few minutes, and that's it. So now I'll hand it over to you, Navina. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mahaprabhu. Good to see you. Thanks for the introduction and for keeping this going. I guess this is your 10th year now.
Well, no, we just completed the 10th year.
Okay.
So if you want to say how many years we've been doing it, 10 years, but we're beginning the 11th year now.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Nice.
Well, due to the mercy of, Krishna and the help of some nice devotees.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining in. Tonight we're going to discuss Bhagavad-gita, the 2nd chapter, which is the contents of the Gita summarized. It's an overview of all the major topics of the Bhagavad-gita. And for those of you who want to read along, we're on text 27. Do you do call and response, or should I just chant? What's your...
I mean, you might, it's completely up to you, but you might find it more efficient just to chant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those of you who know the verse, you can just chant along. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 This is just a short invocation where we show our appreciation for the teachers and the speakers of this Vedic wisdom, which is originating from Krishna. So in this text 27, the verse goes, Chatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharyerte natvangsho chitumarhasi. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Purport. One has to take birth according to one's activities of life. And after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, one is going through one cycle of birth and death after another, without liberation. This cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. But at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. The Battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event, and to fight for the right cause is the duty of a kshatriya. Kshatriya is a warrior or a administrative class. Why should he be afraid of or aggrieved at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts, of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. Om Agyanatimirandasya Ginanjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Offer my respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, to all the assembled Vaishnavas. So here, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, his dear friend and devotee, about some very pertinent, very relevant facts of life. And he's speaking about a person who's taking birth. I guess we can all relate to this. How many of you have taken birth? Show of hand. Okay. Work with me, people. Okay. I know we're all a little Zoom tired, in this pandemic, but it's good to have as they say on the airline, you have to give an audible yes, if you're in the exit row. So we all taken birth. So that means this relates to us. This is meant to us. This is very important. When you speak on any topic, make it relatable. Make it that it concerns the person that you speak about. So in this way, you make sure that you actually get their attention. Because if you speak to me something that concerns me, then I'm tempted to pay attention. I'm tempted to actually feel that this is important, this is relevant, and I have to give my time. But if it's not related, like for instance, if somebody would start talking politics or would start talking sports, I might just switch off my mental radio. Have you ever done that? That you switched off your mental radio and you just, went into another room and started doing other things in your head? And that can happen. So that's why an expert teacher speaks about topics that are relatable and relevant to the audience. So Krishna, being the original speaker, the source of all knowledge, he addresses us through Arjuna, and he speaks about the living entities who have taken birth. And what happens to one who has taken birth? He's sure to die. Now, for some people, that's big news, because how often do we actually contemplate death? Unless you have that fabulous app on your computer screen that will tell you, periodically, by the way, you're gonna die. But if you don't have that, for the most part, you may be thinking, well, I'm gonna be here at least forever, right? Isn't that what we all think? Huh? Yet, even though there is people dying all around us, we think, or I think, I don't want to generalize, but I think it's not going to happen to me. Has this ever happened to you? That you hear of people dying and you think, this is not going to happen to me? Isn't it ironic? Isn't it funny? So Krishna is stating the fact that whoever has taken birth is sure to die. And after death, what happens? One is sure to take birth again. Because the soul is eternal, and the soul who wants to act in this world needs a body. It needs an instrument to express itself, to live out his desires, his wishes. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. So he's talking here about discharge of duty. I know this is not a very popular topic. People are more interested in rights than in duties. But we all have an occupation. And whatever your job, your occupation, even your hobbies are, you may call it, we say it's my duty to do this. I have to do this. This is my chosen path. This is my occupation. This is my livelihood. This is my field of interest. So we consider it our duty. Have you ever wondered how people become so dutiful to give their opinion on a wide range of topics? I always find it interesting how on any given topic, people feel it is their It is their God-given duty to give very vociferous comments on that topic. So, in the unavoidable discharge of our duty, we should not lament. Lamentation is a quality that is quite prominent in this world, because wherever there is a lot of hankering, there will also be a lot of lamentation. Because as long as one has desires, one is tend to face the situation where those desires are not fulfilled. Has this ever happened to you? That you had some desire and it was not working out the way you had planned it to work out? So it shows that hankering or desire and lamentation or obstruction of that desire, they go hand in hand. In fact, they're like two sides of the same coin. You never know which one you're going to get. But here Krishna is saying something very interesting. He says that when you're performing your duty, and it's unavoidable that you have to do your duty, everybody has to act. He's even saying in the Gita that if I would not act, then all the worlds would go to ruin, because nothing can happen without activity. Inactivity will never produce auspiciousness. So, in the discharge of that duty, we should not lament whether we are successful or unsuccessful, but we should simply carry out our duty for the sake of carrying it out, without fruitive attachment, without the desire and the claim on being the owner and enjoyer of the fruits of our activities. This is a very powerful concept that technically is called as Nishkam Karma Yoga. That you have ni is the negation of karma, or of the entitlement of the fruit, and karma yoga, activities. So this is a very powerful concept in the Bhagavad-gita, to act without being attached to the fruits of one's activities. And Krishna will speak more about this in the next chapter, but we'll first focus on the main topic at hand here, which is birth and death, this cyclical event that is seemingly an eternal activity, that it is called the eternal cycle of birth and death. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, one of the newer texts on the Vedic wisdom, it says, Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagavana Jeev, Guru Krishna Prashade Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij. That the living entity has been wandering in this world since time immemorial in all different types of species and life forms, not even just human species, but also animal species, plant species. In fact, it is stated wherever there is life, there is a soul. Without the presence of a soul, there cannot be life. Because the soul's inherent quality is consciousness or awareness. Now that might be covered in case of plants or animals, or even humans sometimes. Or it can be more aware, it can be more dominant. So, and at one point, when the living entity becomes fortunate, then it comes in touch with the spiritual science, and it experiences what we call in mundane terminology awakening. Do you remember when your awakening happened? I think it's a point that we all can kind of very visually or graphically remember when we for the first time actually say, I get it, like I understand this. There's another dimension. There's another state of being, another state of consciousness that is available. And that state is called Krishna consciousness. So the living entity is taking it's time to go the scenic route, to experience whatever there is, in order to enact its seemingly endless propensities for enjoyment. And part of that is also to lord it over others. Have you ever wondered why people are so interested in controlling others? Especially now that there is a whole new range of possibilities of trying to control others. Like when people say, don't stand here, don't stand there, you know, don't touch this, wear this mask, do this, don't do that. It's a whole new range of opportunities for people to exert their OCD or whatever their, you know, propensities are. Because to try to control others is simply giving rise to the tendency of wanting to enjoy, of wanting to somehow get an edge or some level of satisfaction, of imagined sense of superiority, which gives a imagined sense of happiness. So, but that is not the main topic. The main topic here is that even though birth and death are inevitable, this does not condone or support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. Now, this Gita was spoken right at the beginning of the greatest war in the history of mankind. So one may wonder, why does Krishna seemingly condone this war? And why does he instigate Arjuna to fight this war, telling him that in the performance of his duty, there is no loss, there's no lamentation, and he should go ahead doing his job. So here we're going to open up, and we would like to hear from you. Why is Krishna inciting Arjuna to violence?
I have a question.
Raphael.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. It's about birth and death. But my question to you is about, what would you say about people who make emphasis on compassion and says, where is your compassion? As you are Hare Krishna. And I was just encountered someone like that recently. Say, yeah, you are Hare Krishna, but I don't see you guys taking care of or speaking compassionate about people that are dying and suffering in the world. And an instance right now is about the loss of life. Is what happened on this past Wednesday, in which a whole bunch of rioters broke into the capital of this country, and they're talking about the inexcusable loss of life. Why does certain people take it upon themselves to just go into the capital and just without just this actually just caused the loss of 5 people, and they're talking about this in the news for on and on and on about the loss of life. So my question again to you is, what would you say about these people then talk about our movement and they make actually a comment that we don't have that much compassion to loss of life or to people that are dying or suffering? I mean, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Kind of like a child question. I was at some point, I was like without words or what to say, because I was put on the spot to answer this question.
Well, you can always say, this is a very good question. Next topic. No, actually, there's many things that are right in that statement, and there's many things that are wrong. So to go through them one by one would take a very long time, but I'm just going to try to do it in brief. So first of all, there's many important issues and causes, yet we have to understand there's always different levels of truth. Just like people want compassion, but the concept of tough love is not there. Anyone who has been in a position of parenting or friend or authority or, running a project or being somewhat a responsible citizen knows that if people are not behaving, then somebody has to tell them and has to administer the medicine. And that can be a doctor, can be a teacher, can be a parent, can be a friend, or can be law enforcement. There's always going to be people who refuse to accept good advice and will try to do things in a way that they think is right, but that will hurt and offend and obstruct others. And that is not permissible, because liberalism or fanaticism are not that much different when it comes to the point that one is taking the liberty to cause violence and inflict suffering and pain upon others. So it is someone else's duty to actually prevent that from happening, even at the cost of lives, even at the cost of having to take a life in order to protect other people. And of course, some people will object to that and they say, we're pacifists, we're not going to engage in any of these activities. We find this objectionable. Yet, most people will understand that if you want to have a society and you want to have law and order and you want to have some sense of security and that people can actually have a peaceful coexistence, there has to be certain rules, certain boundaries, and people who make sure that those rules and boundaries are being followed, that they're in place. So that in brief. But back to your original point, yes, sometimes it can happen that people in the name of being very spiritual could be perceived as being callous or indifferent or not very empathic, and that can be problematic. That's why it's important that we understand what is not just the letter of the law, but what is actually the purpose and the meaning of the law. It's meant to actually help people and to benefit them. And that means compassion, care, and mutual coexistence, and ultimately also spiritual practice is actually the intention of the law, because the country was founded on the principle of religious freedom and that people can exercise their God-given rights to flourish and the pursuit of happiness, not to forget that, right? So, but of course, these are trying times, and there's a lot of emotions involved and a lot of vested interests. So it's important that we come to a higher ground and see it from a philosophical point of view. First of all, loss of life is a oxymoron. You know what an oxymoron is? It's a total misnomer, because life is eternal. Life is a constant. Now, okay, a person may have a change of body, a change of dress, but it's not the life is not lost. I'm here in Cancun, Mexico right now, doing some programs here, and I went to see some of the Mayan temples along the coast where they would perform human sacrifices, which is another very unpopular topic. But if you've ever seen Rush Hour and you see people going to work, going through the grind, is that not human sacrifice? We're all experiencing sacrifice in the performance of our duty. So the person who is a native person from here was explaining to me that it was considered an honor for the warrior class to go and fight wars and to either kill or be killed, and that at some point they may be offered as sacrifice to the gods, and they considered it an honor to die that death. Now, for us civilians, this may seem unacceptable. That's why we're not warriors. But for a sports person or a business person to go into a business venture, or to go into a game, or for a warrior to go into battle, is as exciting as for some of us is to go into our garden and sit in our lawn chair and read a book, or whatever it is that is your most cherished activities. So again, different natures, different mindsets. How can I try to impose my value structure and my priorities on others, and then from a Euro or American centric or Latino centric point of view, try to tell people how they should lead their lives and what they should believe in. So the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedic culture, is recognizing different natures and different propensities, and is allowing people to fulfill their propensities and their natures. Because unless that is a possibility, people will get utterly frustrated, despondent, and feel unproductive and disoriented, which is an unfortunate scenario that we're facing nowadays, that a lot of people are really lost for a sense of identity and purpose, because they're not encouraged to follow their dharma or their natural tendencies, their natural proclivities. So in the excuse of all being the same, we've actually done away with the individuality. We've done away with the inherent natural propensities of the individual. And that has not proven to be very successful. So these are some thoughts. I don't know if that helps you, but what I usually do is I say, yes, it's a fact. Sometimes it can perceive so, or it might even be so, but we can all do better in the field of empathy and compassion. And that usually gets a point across, right? Then the other stuff, you see how much the person is willing to hear or to discuss.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. Does anyone remember the question on the floor that I was just raising before Raphael?
Yes, I've got the question. The thing you asked, why does Krishna incite Arjuna to violence? And right after you said that, when the other person was asking their question, I was jotting down a few things that I remembered from chapter 1. So I probably, the theme that we're on this evening so far, it's that there's no death. So the people are going to not really die anyway. That was one of the arguments, but also that the battle is already enacted. And duty, he's a Kshatriya, so he's obligated to do the duty of a Kshatriya, which is to fight. So, and there may be more reasons, but those are the only ones I remember just off the top of my head.
Well, Maria, that's a good start here. You're doing a good job. Thank you. Somebody else has got some other additional points that you would like to contribute. Not all at once.
I think, Prabhu Dixon here, I think the result of Arjuna's fighting would be to reestablish religion, root out irreligion and establish religion.
Thank you. Very good point. Very important point. Yes. Any other points? Sasha?
And also, it seems like Krishna mentions that Arjuna is a Kshatriya, he would not be able to do anything else. So it was like his compassion to Arjuna as well. So to follow his duty.
Yes.
You know what? There's another thing too, because Arjuna was wanting to just abandon everything and go off in the forest and just live as a hermit, and another reason Krishna is showing us, that spirituality is engaged in life and living and duty, and not to just reject it and be by ourselves just meditating.
Very good point. Thank you, Maria. I knew you had another one. Atma?
This point is consistent with, or it goes hand in hand with all the other points that were already made, which is, so it's not separate and apart from them, but because Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight in this battle, and then people gave the various reasons why, but simply because Krishna wanted him to do it, that in and of itself made it the important and the right thing to do, because Krishna arranges everything in this world and sets up people's duty within the world. But if Krishna personally wants someone to do something, it must be the right thing to do. And then the case in point, of course, is then when you go to the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, and Krishna shows his universal form, meaning how everything comes from Krishna, including showing how the whole war, the results of the war, he shows Arjuna that within the universal form, how all these people are dying, being consumed in Krishna's giant universal form, and meaning that the war itself, Krishna arranged that, and the results of the war it was already set what's going to happen, and Krishna wanted Arjuna to do his job, so to speak, for Krishna as part of that plan.
Thank you, Atma.
Right.
Some other points? Somebody else would like to contribute? Abhi?
I guess I had a question on what Atma just said. So if there is the assumption that everything was, orchestrated and, the inevitable was going to happen, what are the lessons which Arjuna would learn from, engaging in this fight when everything was, already decided and, pre-planned, to say?
Are you asking me or Atma?
Well, whoever
Atma brought it up, I'll leave it to him to answer.
Well, I guess the first question is, does the Gita actually say, or is it true, or does it say that things are predestined or they are orchestrated and we are living in, this sort of illusory world where everything is, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, this is a good question. So the issue of free will of the living entity, and then the limits of what one can do with one's free will. So it seems like a mystery sometimes, but so we have free will. But I could say that I would like to start a company, and within a year of everyone's noticing how my company is constantly losing lots of money every quarter, but then within a few months, or a year, becoming the richest man in the world, that's Elon Musk. I could want that to happen somehow. It sort of seemed like somehow for him, but it doesn't mean that I can do that. So I have my free will, but it doesn't mean that I have control. So every living entity has the choice of what to do, but then it's up to the laws of nature, or to the extent one is interacting with God in a personal way, devotionally, and God has his say. So it's ultimately so Prabhupada like to quote the phrase that Westerners know, that Westerners use: man proposes and God disposes. So there's that. So we always have something we can learn from, whether we choose to do something that's beneficial or not. But the results will ultimately come from somewhere else, from Krishna personally, or through the laws of nature that he controls indirectly. And ultimately what happens to us is happens in order for us to hopefully learn how to gradually do things that are best. And then so if something bad happens to you, then you may learn, okay, I asserted my free will in a way that was not beneficial, and so let me not do that anymore. Or when you do something that's you get good results, then you think, okay, let me do that some more. When we're doing that in the material world without any spiritual aspect to our activities or our intentions, it's a little more complicated, because you may do something and get a good result, but then you see how that good result ultimately it turns into something bad. Like Elon Musk, at one point, he's going to get old, and he's going to, unless he becomes a devotee of Krishna or devotee of God, he's going to lose what he's got, and not unclear where he's going to be in his next body. So without Krishna consciousness, it's a little tricky how that all works. And so sometimes the lesson to be learned is when you get good things coming to you, and then eventually they turn bad, then you get to learn a more subtle lesson than just that bad activities lead to bad results. Now you learn, well, when you do things that lead to good results due to hard work, or being a little compassionate to someone in the material world, but then you see that those good results, they're fleeting as well. So then the lesson to be learned from that is to then really ponder deeply, and as Navina was saying earlier in his class, do you have this moment where you finally kind of get it, where you get some realization about life or Krishna consciousness? So when it seems like you're doing everything right, and then things turn bad, then that's sometimes when people really start thinking. I think that's how a lot of people have become devotees, actually. And then a person thinks, well, okay, so what I thought was the right way to go, that's not really right. And then you think, is there some bigger picture? And so Krishna is telling Arjuna, the big picture is just do whatever pleases me. That's what you should do. And so when we realize maybe there's something eternal going on in this world, an eternal relationship with God, and then you act in accord with that, then you get happy results that last forever. And so, yeah, that's I guess how I would respond. Sorry, I didn't take over, but you told me to do it. So.
You're doing good, Atma. You're doing good. You're on a roll.
I'm muting myself now.
No. It's a team effort.
Okay.
These are
So
big
there is
topics.
no running. There's no free will, because we have adjusted it. And so what we're doing is running away, really, like Arjuna. And that's the story, that he is running away from his duties and what he was meant to do. And and only through Krishna he finds the strength, so to speak, to do what he needs to do. But while we think, I met many former alcoholics, and I was always wondering, what drove you to alcohol? I don't think it was, they weren't driven to alcohol. I think they were running away from their spiritual nature, and then they join their AA and start really doing 12 steps and things like that. So that was my impression, that while there is no free will, and there's predestination. Now the only thing I don't understand is, within free will, can we have desires? Can I, for instance, desire to have a bigger apartment without suffering? Because desire is really, if you're frustrated, you're gonna be angry. You're gonna be upset. You're gonna really hurt yourself. So desire, in a sense, is damage you're doing to yourself. Can you live without any desires? That's the question.
Thank you, Susan. I was already missing your voice. I knew you were out there. So thanks for bringing up these important points. Yes, we do have desires, because to desire is it's the nature of the soul. We're sentient. We have senses. So that means we have desires. Now, what quality, what type of desire, that is again up to us. And it is not necessarily, yes, we can desire, but not necessarily because we desire will it be so. I want many things, but they tend to usually not happen. So it's not that just because we have the ability to desire that things must manifest. Whereas Krishna, Svabhaviki Jnana Balakriya Cha, whatever he wishes, it becomes a fact, it becomes reality. And that's why he's telling Arjuna a little later on that none of these people are going home today, they'll all stay here, whether you fight or not. I already decided they're not going anywhere. And by you not fighting, nobody will be saved. In other words, whatever you do is inconsequential to the outcome of the war, of the bigger picture, but it's your choice whether you want to take the credit or you want to take the blame. That is your choice. So, and Krishna is laying it out as the perfect teacher, that if you do this, this will be the result. If you do that, that will be the result. And if you do nothing, then that will be the result. So now it's up to you, make up your mind. and that's really love. And that's really freedom, because he is giving him an informed option of choices. And he is very clearly telling him also, but if you want to please me, then this is what I would like you to do. And Arjuna, being a devotee and being very intelligent, he goes out and does it and becomes acclaimed as the great winner of the battle of Kurukshetra, even though his elder brother Yudhishthira becomes the emperor. Arjuna is the hero. He's the one who actually scored all the important victories, so to speak. So in the second part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada actually sums up all these points very nicely. And that's why I'm going to reread it here just for all of us, if I might. The battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event. And to fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. So why was it inevitable? Because there was a great over concentration of military forces, and Krishna came to alleviate the earth from that unnecessary burden of Kshatriyas who were in a great militaristic spirit. So, and many of them had very demoniac tendencies. They had selfish motives. They wanted to use their ability to govern to control and exploit others. And that's why the war was inevitable. So the fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid of or aggrieved at the death of his relative, since he was discharging his duty, his proper duty? In other words, there's nothing to be lamented if some relative dies, even if you are involved if you are performing your duty. For instance, I have a friend, Satyadev, he's a paramedic. He was a paramedic for 21 years for the San Francisco Fire Department. And he was going out on the 911 calls on the ambulance. And while performing his duty, there's death every day. And even though you can say that it's not him who causes it, but it's really not in your hands. Even though you may try to save a person's lives, it's just beyond. A doctor cannot save a patient. You cannot rescue a drowning man. You cannot save the situation, no matter how hard you try. That doesn't mean we should not try. Bringing up the point of Raphael, yes, we have to try and do our level best. Yet we should also know that the outcome of our endeavor is not in our hands. And even though we do have quite some sophisticated hospitals and doctors and medicines and very elaborate surgical instruments, why are people still dying? The death rate is still 100% last time we checked, isn't it? Approximately, roughly, right, Atma? Pretty much, around 100%.
Approximately, yeah.
Approximately, yeah. So, which is kind of reassuring and it's comforting because we know that we're all heading in the same direction. I mean, from a, material point of view. So there's nothing to be lamented if something that's inevitable will take its due course. There's nothing objectionable to that. He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts of which he was so afraid. So in other words, for Arjuna, to not fight would mean to break the law, because it was his duty to fight. If we're not performing our duty, then actually we're breaking the law. That's a whole different spin, huh? That's a whole different idea on breaking the law. Because Arjuna was afraid to do something that would be compromising his fame, compromising his stature, his good name, and his enjoyment. And Krishna is pointing out to him that you not fulfilling your duty is what's going to compromise your name and your fame and your happiness. Because just to follow our whims, our imagined idea of happiness and duty is not really the way how to achieve success. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives. We already spoke about that. And he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. Now, again, that's a very unpopular topic, that there's a right and the wrong way. Why not let everything be fine, right? Don't all roads lead to the same way? It's a whole other can of worms, right? Well, I'm here in Cancun, there's a road that goes south and a road that goes north, and then there's a road that goes west. You can't go east because there's the sea out there. So you have to know how to navigate in life. And for that, we need a roadmap. And Bhagavad-gita, the Vedic scriptures, are actually providing us with a roadmap, which helps us to navigate in life. Because otherwise it's easy to get lost. There is a lot of mangroves. There's a lot of things that look very similar. But if we want to navigate, we need a roadmap and we need a guide, a spiritual master, who can help us by first identifying what's the first thing that you need to know. Have you ever been to a zoo? Show of hands, how many of you have visited a zoo in your life? Okay, good. So when you go to the zoo, what's the first thing you look at?
I look at tigers and lions.
Yeah, but how do you find them?
I don't know, by the map.
Okay, but if you have a map, then and on that map, you know, it says in one area it says tigers and lions, right? But then how'd you get there? How many of you have been Boy Scouts? What's the first thing you need to know?
The direction.
Yeah, direction means from here to there. So there's that red dot that says you are here. That's the first thing you need to know. So in a similar way, in our map of life, we need to get a grip of you are here, which is sense of identity. And then from there, we can take a goal and we can move towards that goal. And we know, okay, yeah, here are the flamingos and then here are the snakes, but no, I'm going to the lion and the tigers because that's what I really want to see first, and everything else is secondary. But in this way, we can navigate through life. So the Bhagavad-gita is giving us a very systematic, a very scientific buildup. And that's why, if you ever wondered, I'm sure you do because you pay attention, why is Krishna speaking so much about the sense of self, about the soul, about the identity? Why is he putting so much emphasis and stressing so much this point? Because unless the you are here, the sense of identity and locus standi, where you're standing in life, is clearly defined, everything else will simply be irrelevant. So that's what's happening here in the Bhagavad Gita. That's the discussion that is taking place. And these are some of the thoughts that came to my mind while reading this verse. We're open here for some questions and discussion. We got another 25 minutes.
When I go to the zoo, I see a lot of suffering, the suffering of confinement and imprisonment. You know, I'm vegan. I believe in this strongly. And I think something like this happens to people who are not following the path. I think that this, you know, I could see it, you know, Christians go to confession and they suffer guilt and remorse. And, you know, and I think Krishna has something else to offer. The non-attachment to action and the fact that, you know, when we do this in the spirit of serving Krishna, then we don't have bad consequences as a result.
Yes,
we don't suffer. We don't have remorse and guilt.
Yeah, very good point. Thank you. Which is same tie on for your previous question, that when you're actually doing what you're supposed to be doing, then there is no remorse or guilt because you're doing your duty with a sense of obligation, out of a sense of obligation, yet in the same time in a spirit of detachment, because you know that the result is not up to you. And in this way, there is no real implication, whether in success nor in failure. And it's kind of ironic because we are very eager to claim success, and we're very much careful how to avoid failure. Yet it's not really our call. So to become free from that predicament and from that entanglement requires really to come to a higher understanding, to a philosophical level, to understand that I have a right to perform my duty, but I don't have the right to enjoy the result. And the good thing with not having the right to enjoy the result also means that you also do not have to suffer the negative consequences. Just like if you are acting on behalf of the company or on behalf of the government, then the company or the government has to bear the expenditure and the profit or loss, because you are simply the servant, you're the employee, you're the person who is carrying out your duty on behalf of the organization. So that is a very powerful concept that we can experience in our daily work. Otherwise, when we identify, we become implicated in the results of our activities. And that can become a very compromising situation, to say the least. Thank you. Other points?
So we don't have some grand duty like Arjuna had. Often we're just sitting at the computer trying to solve a problem. So how do we, think that, is that Krishna's will for us to just do that job for the day? So is that how we motivate ourselves every day?
Well, it depends. What's your intent in doing that work? Is it just kicking the can down the road and ticking off another day? Or do you have some higher purpose? Do you have some higher sense of awareness, that a higher goal that you're trying to achieve than to just get through the day? Because that's just a basic level of more like survival mode. Okay, I do my job. But when I'm aware that actually I'm doing this because there's hopefully a sense and purpose and meaning behind my work, I'm hopefully contributing to the greater good of society, not just making money for the boss. I mean, I'm just speaking here, hypothetically. And if you know that, okay, this is allowing me to do so many other good things, and this might be a necessary supportive function for me to maintain my livelihood, but I am primarily interested in spreading, awareness, in spreading awakening, in spreading Krishna consciousness through my life and my activities. And this is a support of that. So then it becomes Nishkam Karma Yoga. It can become sacred duty. But if we're forgetful, we're not mindful of that, it becomes disconnected, then it's just another day, hacking away on a computer or breaking rocks or moving bricks from one side of the road to the other side of the road. And that can seem a little deafening, a little frustrating, so to speak. So that's why it's important that we see the connection and we also establish our sense of purpose and direction, that we do not get caught up just in the day-to-day, but we try to see, okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing what am I doing? What am I doing with the fruits of my labor? Am I actually contributing to the good of humanity? Or am I part of the solution? Or am I part of the problem? And we have to ask ourselves those questions so that we are not feeling kind of in a void or ambiguous state. So how to do that? One very good way to do that is to dedicate a certain amount of time, energy, and resources to spread awareness. For instance, to give people transcendental knowledge. You can give people a Bhagavad-gita so they can find out about this. And through your job and your professional career, you have so many opportunities because you develop skills and talents and contacts that you can actually spread this message to so many other living entities. It's just a beautiful story that I wanted to share with you that I heard a couple of days ago at the 70th birthday celebration of His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Maharaj. He was in former Yugoslavia in the north, just on the Hungarian border, in a city called Subotice, and he distributed a Sri Ishopanishad in Hungarian in then Yugoslavia, but they speak both languages in that border town. And a person who bought it didn't read it. He just put it on the shelf. But his daughter read it. She was 4 years old when her father got the book. And then later on, she read it and she became a devotee. And now her and her husband, they're running the center in that city. And they're sharing Krishna consciousness, the knowledge of the Bhagavad-gita with the people in that area. So Krishna Kshetra Maharaj was traveling in Europe, visiting universities and spreading this message of the Gita. And so you can see how you may think in this moment, oh, I'm talking to a colleague or coworker, about the stuff that we're talking about right now, about not being attached to the fruits of your actions. Like, aren't you having these discussions sometimes? Why didn't I get the promotion? Why didn't I get, the bonus? What happens? Are you ever having these discussions, or are you having these discussions? I think you do, right? This is kind of part of everyday life scenario. So then you can bring out this point, we have a right to perform our duty, but we don't have a right to actually enjoy the result. It's not up to us. And you'll be amazed how actually people get it. It actually makes sense. They actually feel, wow, yeah, this is something powerful. Where did you get that stuff from, Anu? Did you just make that up? And then you can say, yeah, I'm just a smart girl. Or you can say, actually, no, I just read this in this book, it's called the Gita. And here, would you like to try it out? Give it a go. It's actually a very powerful concept. Did you ever wonder why Krishna has all the girls? Any one of you, girls and boys out there? Did you ever wonder why Krishna has all the boys?
I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about that. I think he kind of protects them.
He what? He protects them? Okay.
He had 140 wives or something like that. So he had 140 women to protect.
No. Way more than that. He had 16,108 wives and palaces. And he had, I don't want to even mention the number, but a lot of gopi girlfriends. So why was he so wildly popular?
Well, two reasons that come to mind. First of all, he's the all attractive.
Well, that does help, right? That does help.
And then the second reason, I think one of the mysteries of that was he's trying to show us what his relationship with us is, which is he has that same relationship with each and every single one of us, but all at the same time. But from our perspective, we think we're the only one and he's all ours. So
that's beautiful, isn't it? But another point that I actually was hinting at and wanted to illustrate is, and it's a very powerful point, out of the, Bhagavan, the possessor of all opulences, there is strength, there is fame, there is beauty, there is knowledge, and there's the one that's mostly overlooked. It's
detachment.
Called detachment.
Mm-hmm.
He's supremely detached, supremely renounced. So sometimes we're too invested in whatever it is that we're trying to get done, and it becomes almost painful. It becomes almost sickening. So Krishna exhibits a great sense of detachment. And because of that, his devotees really feel drawn to him because they can see that he is complete in and of himself. He is not wanting. He is full, yet he accepts the love and he reciprocates the love of each and every living entity, as you have mentioned, Maria, in a very personal, in a very loving and kind, and in a very complete way. So that sense of detachment is not based on callousness or on indifference, but it's based also not just on contentment and being complete, but it's based on drawing out more love and emotion and feeling and attention from the beloved, from his counterparts. So there is a dynamic here. There's a tension going on between the Lord
Could
and
you
his
say that part again about drawing out more love? What was the connection there? I didn't get the first part of that.
That Krishna is not just complete and that's why he's indifferent and he doesn't care, but Krishna knows the art of drawing out more love and attention and affection, because unless there is attention, unless there is a feeling of lacking and a great anxiety and a great suspense, why is there so much drama in the movies? Have you ever wondered? Because without that, then without separation, union has very little meaning. I don't know how we ended up here, but ultimately, it's all about relationships. And so here you can see Krishna and Arjuna, they're having this dialogue, and it really brings out their relationship. And so Krishna is doing that in order to illustrate to us that if we want to advance in life, we should learn the art of relationship. And Bhagavad-gita is not just the roadmap for life, but also the roadmap for relationships, for having successful and fulfilling, loving relationships. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the only thing that's truly hitting the spot, that's actually giving us a sense of fulfillment. And Krishna is so wonderful that he allows each and every living entity to have their own unique relationship with him. Which means whether you want to love him, or you want to serve him, or you want to be a parent, or you want to be a friend, or you want to even say, oh, you're okay, I'm okay, it's kind of neutral. That's also fine. Some want to fight with Krishna. Krishna says it's okay, bring it on, So, because he is the supremely detached. So to muster up a little bit of sense of detachment, especially now in these trying times, is actually quite a blessing. It's quite helpful. And we learn that by studying these teachings. We have time for one more question or comment. I can't hear you, Atma, but I can read your lips.
It's possible that there's a question or comment from someone in the room with me, but I'm not sure yet. So maybe someone else can take the floor while I figure it out. I take a pass.
Well, maybe I have a question. I think one thing which I've always struggled with understanding completely when I read chapter 2 of the Gita is like especially in this chapter, it mentions war is inevitable. So if I had to mirror that to reality and all the conflict and wars being fought around the world, does this really mean that, I mean, it is inevitable and it is going to happen? So, or does it mean you want to try to avoid war and approach all the possibilities to pacify and prevent war, and only then, when all those attempts have failed, that conflict is the ultimate consequence? I don't know if I'm being clear here, but
Yes, and yes, and yes. So you're being clear, and yes, war is inevitable, and yes, we should do everything possible to prevent it. And still, it is inevitable.
Okay.
It sounds ironic, but it's it's a fact. And even in the Mahabharata, before the Kurukshetra war, Krishna himself personally went to Dhritarashtra and as a messenger, and he brought the message of peace, and he said, look, you know what the scenario is. Actually, they're the rightful heirs. You have usurped the throne. You want to give it over to your sons. So the Pandavas, because they want peace, they say, just give us 5 villages. And the answer he got back was that we will not give you enough land to put the point of a needle on. That's as much land as we're going to give you, which means nothing. So war became inevitable, to the point that Duryodhana wanted to capture Krishna, and which was, of course, not possible. So everybody did whatever they could in order to actually solve the situation. But when it became clear that it was inevitable, then war had to happen.
Okay.
We got time for one more question or comment or something.
I just have something.
Israel had Dixon. Okay.
Yep.
Was it maybe Israel? I just came back. I just went. Was it Israel?
Well, he had raised his hand, through Zoom, but you could. I mean, maybe you can each.
Okay. Okay. I'll go first then. I wanted to ask Prabhu, how do you compare the current wars that we have in the world to the ones in the Gita, like we're talking about, trying to exhaust all possible means of, trying to settle matters, and the war is a last resort. It seems it's a bit different now.
Well, yeah, it's very much different, very much so. Nowadays, wars are mostly fought for personal gain and profit, and they're economic wars. So it's not wars of dharma or wars where religious principles are at stake, rather quite the contrary. So it's not that war equals war. Even in war, they had great due diligence to make sure how the war was conducted, in which manner, etc. And all of that is thrown out. It's like, it's like in a sporting event. There's certain rules, there's certain strictures that have to be followed. Otherwise, it's not really an honorable game or match, so to speak. So we don't have that scenario nowadays. It's mostly just demons fighting demons, and everybody gets destroyed, and everybody suffers the consequences of their bad karma. Yes, Israel, I see your hand. Please unmute yourself.
I'll unmute him in case.
Okay, because I can't do it.
Oh.
Hello, can you hear?
Go ahead. He's muted again.
Sasha, are you? I think while I was unmuting him, you were unmuting him. It didn't work. So you do it.
No, I didn't do anything. I mean,
Oh,
Israel, can you try again, unmute yourself?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. All right. You talked about detachment, and I think it's a very interesting concept. But how do you stay detached in this in everyday life where you have to work, you have to show so much passion, you have a family, you are so much devoted to the family. Everything that we do, there's so much emotions to it. But I'm just wondering how you go about staying detached. Maybe it's a long theory altogether, but I mean, if you can just give me a brief about it, I'll be happy.
Yes, thank you, Israel, to bring this up. How to stay detached while living in the world of names and fulfilling our duties, having a family, having a job, and there's so much more to passion involved. It's possible. It's possible by having a spiritual practice. When we create what's called sacred space, you get up early and you dedicate quality time for your spiritual practice before you jump into the saddle and you start trying to conquer and do whatever it is that you do. You take time to refine yourself and to upgrade our consciousness to be our better selves, to refine our purpose, our motives, to connect with Krishna through chanting his holy names, to reading the Gita, and really preparing ourselves like people would prepare to go into battle. People would prepare to go into sports tournaments. So in a similar way, we should prepare ourselves by fortifying ourselves, by bathing our intellect in the cosmogonal wisdom of the Bhagavad-gita. And when we chant Krishna's names, our heart will be filled with joy and happiness. And then when we're moving through the worlds of names and there is so much tension and different types of emotions and interactions, we can stay equipoised, we can stay calm, even amidst the storm that is going on. And that is possible if we are in the eye of the storm. The only quiet place is in the eye of the storm. In other words, if we're connected to the center, to the root cause of existence, even though there's a lot of random moving objects that are moving around very fast at breakneck speed in collision course, if you are in the center, if you're connected to the center, to the source that is Krishna, you will be unfazed, you'll be untouched, you'll be aloof, just like a lotus leaf. Even though growing out of obscurity and being situated in water and mud is not affected by its surroundings. So please do take time every day to create that sacred space by chanting Hare Krishna, by reading some verses of the Gita. Do you know that 2/3 of the people in the so-called civilized world check their messages before they even go to the bathroom? Huh? I don't know if that includes you, but it's our personal choice. We have a choice to make here. I have a choice whether I want to be guided by passion and ignorance, or I want to live a life of virtue where I'm situated more in the mode of goodness. So the Gita is giving us these tools, is giving us these insights, how we can actually work in the world, but not be affected by the scenarios that we are interacting with. And also, what is my sense of purpose? Am I doing this just for myself or for my extended self, for my family? Or do I have some spiritual goals, some spiritual objectives? Am I supporting a program that is helping people? Am I doing something that's beneficial for the world? Or am I just another little, person who is out there trying to get ahead in the game, and in the meantime is stepping on other people's toes? So these are questions to ponder, and it will allow us to upgrade, to refine our consciousness by connecting ourselves with Krishna, coming to the transcendental platform. And it still means we have to act in the world. It still means we have to fight our battles. But just like Arjuna, he fought his battle not for fame or infamy, but for giving pleasure to Krishna. And thus he became transcendental, and he became free from the reactions of his activities. So try that out and see how it works. Create some spiritual practice on a daily basis, even if it may just be, for a short amount of time, and see how you can grow on that. And you will see how it will shine light and empowerment into all the other aspects of your day and your life. Thank you for your audience participation. And you all contributed and made very valuable points. So thank you for hosting this program, Atma, and for having me back here. 2 days ago, we were in Tulum, Mexico, chanting and dancing in the rain. And it was quite interesting because people were out and about, and they were seeing that from a material point of view, it's like monsoon rains coming down, and they're just standing under a palapa, one of those straw umbrellas, just waiting for the clouds to pass, but they didn't pass. They just kept on raining. And we were just there chanting with everybody. And people started realizing that maybe this is why we're here for. Maybe this is the plan. Maybe this is the action. And they dropped their other ideas and they just joined into that activity. So I think we're going to have a little bit of chanting right now, and then we call it a day.
Yeah, but first, how many of the people there in Tulum started chanting and dancing with you in the rain?
Oh, everybody. We were there with Harinam Ruchi. We had a core team. Mahavishnu Swami was there, and John, and then another 3 or 4 devotees, and some of us were handing out books. So we just went, because there was very few people on the street. So we just went from shop to shop, restaurant to restaurant, and just went in there and started dancing with the employees and the few customers who were there. It just kind of took over, like just rolling along the street. And pretty much everybody, people are very open and very warm-hearted. So it's kind of a very special mood that it was very contagious. It was a very congenial experience.
Okay. Thank you, Varu. Okay. So please lead us in the chanting. So everyone. Just in case I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 of you aren't familiar, but so we'll do the chanting. It's call and response fashion, except the only person we're hearing is the one who's doing the calling, Navina, leading the kirtan. But if you want to, it's nice if you do the responding, although the only people who will hear you responding is yourself in your own room, because everyone's muted but Navina. But that's how. But if you do it, it's great. Okay, so it's just go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah. Thank you all very much for joining in. I wish you a blissful weekend and a enlivening week.
Jai.
And looking forward to seeing all of you.
Yeah.
Hare
We look forward
Hare
to
Krishna.
having Navina back. If you all agree with me, please join me expressing appreciation for his association this evening. Haribol!
Haribol,
Haribol.
Haribol, Haribol.
And thanks to all of you for joining us this evening and sharing your association. Really nice to have all of you here this evening. And I'll just briefly go through speakers coming up for following Saturdays, which are the programs the same time every Saturday at 5:30 p.m. So next Saturday is February 16th. Is Grace Pushkar Prabhu to the class. Then February 23rd, that's Saturday, is
January.
If you have some sound in the background, you can mute it if you want. Then February, wait, hold on a second.
Is it January?
Oh, I apologize. No wonder it wasn't working. Yeah, no wonder that wasn't working for me. Okay, so again, going back, January 16th, it's Pushkar. Saturday, January 23rd, it's Brahmatirtha. And Saturday, January 30th, it's Yogeshwar Prabhu. And then February, I guess that would bring us to February 7th, right? Let's see. No, February 6th. February 6th Right, February 6th. I'm not doing well here today. Okay, February 6th, Saturday, February 6th is Brigupati, and Saturday, February 13th is Vijay. Then February 20th to be announced. Then February 27th, Mother Sukhada. And that's it.
Yeah.
So, okay. So thanks a lot, everyone. Hare Krishna. And
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.